Chapter 1, Part 16, not in the temples, but in the thoughts we think, the words we speak, the way we walk through the fire of each day. The brilliance of Zarathustra's communion with Ahura Mazda was not in its spectacle, but in its moral clarity. And this, above all, is what makes him celestial. The lesson for us: his story is not just ancient, it is urgent. To walk with divine inspiration is to walk against the current. It takes courage to speak of light when the world profits from shadows. But Zarathustra teaches, truth is not a weapon, it is a flame. Hold it high, even when the wind howls. The world will offer confusion, he offers discernment. The world will reward compromise, he praises integrity. The world will mock quiet voices, but heaven hears them. Every act of goodness, every refusal to lie, every choice to bless instead of curse is a hymn in his tradition. We are not called to ascend as he did, but to anchor the light he saw, to live it, carry it, pass it, forward. And when our own mission is complete, may we too dissolve, not in fame, but in the fulfillment of having stood for the good when it mattered most. The ascent within, your own ladder to the sky, dismantling the earthly grips, detachment from outcome, the key to true freedom from worldly ties, the purification of thought, how mental clarity and ethical living prepare the ground for higher states. Beyond the illusion of separation, recognizing the interconnectedness of all things as a path to unity. The practice of letting go, surrendering the ego, fears, and attachments that bind us to the material. Detachment from outcome. There is a secret hidden in every sacred path, not in the doing, but in the releasing. The sage plants seeds not to control the harvest, but to be in harmony with the season. The mystic acts not to manipulate results, but to honor the rhythm of the Tao. Detachment from outcome is not indifference, it is liberation. When we no longer chase the fruit, we become rooted in the tree. When we stop measuring success by reward, we begin to live in truth. This is the quiet freedom of the awakened heart, to serve, to love, to speak, to offer, without the grasping hand of expectation. For what binds us is not the task but the thirst for control, and what frees us is trust in the unfolding of what is far greater than our plans. The purification of thought. Thought is a subtle thread, and the world is woven from it. Before there is chaos in the world, there is disorder in the mind. Before there is peace in the soul, there is stillness in the thought. Mental clarity is not sterile silence, it is luminous space. It is the garden where wisdom blooms, and where right action flows like water from the heart. And so we purify not with shame, but with attention. We choose thoughts aligned with truth, compassion, simplicity, and courage. We let go of the old scripts of fear and desire and write new ones with light. Ethical living is not a burden. It is the tuning fork that aligns mind and soul with the higher vibration of being itself. A mind at peace is the doorway to realms the noisy mind cannot enter. Beyond the illusion of separation, the greatest illusion is that you are alone, that you are a wave, not the ocean, a spark, not the fire. But in moments of stillness, in deep breath, in pure presence, that illusion cracks. You see it, that the flower is not separate from the soil, that the breath you just took has passed through mountains, stars, and saints. We are not scattered pieces. We are patterns of the same whole. To recognize the interconnectedness of all things is not to deny your uniqueness, but to remember your place in the web, not as a stranger, but as a thread in the great tapestry. This is the path to unity, not by erasing difference, but by blessing the space between. The practice of letting go. Letting go is not a single act. It is a lifelong surrender. We let go of the ego, not by attacking it, but by seeing through its stories. We let go of fear, not by becoming fearless, but by walking with faith. We let go of attachments, not by renouncing the world, but by refusing to be owned by it. The monk in a cave and the mother in a kitchen both walk this path, if they act from presence, not possession. Letting go is not disappearance. It is becoming light enough to rise. When we release the weights, we remember we were always meant to fly. So, dismantle gently. Peel back the layers, not in violence but in reverence. Not to destroy the self, but to reveal the self beneath it. There, in the quiet center, you will find a freedom that needs no permission, a peace that needs no reason, and a love that holds everything without needing to grasp a single thing. Cultivating the subtle ascent. Meditation and deep contemplation. Practical techniques for expanding consciousness beyond the physical. The breath as a bridge, utilizing pranayama and conscious breathing to connect with subtle energies. Visionary experience, opening to non-ordinary states of perception as glimpses of higher realities. The body as temple, not prison, honoring and working with the physical form as a vehicle for spiritual evolution. Meditation and deep contemplation. If the journey upward is real, then it must begin inward. Meditation is not a technique, it is a return. A drawing back of the senses, a softening of the grip, a listening to what has always been speaking. In the stillness, the surface world loosens, the noise recedes, and something ancient awakens, not outside but within. Contemplation deepens the path. Where meditation listens, contemplation asks, not for answers but for insight, for essence, for presence itself. Here consciousness expands not by addition but by remembrance, by releasing what is false until only the real remains. Sit long enough and you do not rise above the world. You begin to see it as it truly is. The breath, as a bridge breath, is not just air. It is the rhythm of the soul. It is the original mantra spoken without words. In every inhale, we receive. In every exhale, we surrender. Pranayama, conscious breathing, is not control. It is communion. It awakens the subtle currents, the rivers of light beneath the skin, the winds that carry the soul toward ascent. To breathe with awareness is to place your feet on the bridge between body and spirit, between earth and sky. It is the simplest practice and the most profound, for breath is always with you, and therefore so is God. Visionary experience, sometimes the veil lifts, not because we demanded it, but because we became still enough for it to part. Visionary states are not the goal, they are glimpses, glimpses of the eternal orchard behind the wall, glimpses of the great pattern in motion, glimpses of the light that sings behind the forms. Whether through meditation, breath, dream, or silence, these moments come when the mind steps aside and the soul takes the seat. But beware the grasping. Cling to the vision and it fades. Honor it and it returns in 1,000 quiet ways. True vision opens not the eyes, but the heart, so that we may see not just what is beyond, but what is within everything. The body is temple, not prison. This flesh is not your jail, it is your altar. The sages did not flee the body, they transfigured it, through stillness, through breath, through sacred care. The body holds memory, the body holds energy, the body holds the possibility of transformation. Every stretch, every stillness, every sacred movement is a prayer written in muscle and blood. To ascend spiritually does not mean to reject the form, but to realize the form itself is made of stars. Eat with reverence, walk with attention, sleep with blessing, speak with alignment. This body is not a burden, it is a vehicle of light, woven with the same intelligence that shaped the constellations. When you honor it, it begins to respond, not just as a vessel, but as a companion in your awakening. The subtle ascent. You do not need wings. You need stillness, you need breath, you need intention rooted in love and discipline born of wonder. The path of ascent is not vertical, it is transparent. It moves through dimensions hidden in plain sight. With each breath, with each silent prayer, with each moment of letting go, you rise. Not away from the world, but through it until you see it shining from within. And when you reach that summit, you will know you never had to climb. You only had to remember that you were never anything but light. The echo of infinity, ascension as a continuous process. It's not just an endpoint, but a journey of ever-expanding awareness. Bringing heaven to earth, how individual ascension can elevate collective consciousness. The promise of transformation. What these narratives truly offer us, not escape but ultimate freedom. Your personal apex. The recognition that the ultimate heaven is the realization of the divine within, a state of being fully embodied and fully free. Ascension as a continuous process. We speak of ascension as if it were a mountaintop, a final moment, a glorious vanishing, a holy departure. But the truth is more subtle. Ascension is not a destination, it is a motion, a turning of the soul toward light, again and again, in breath, in silence, in kindness, in surrender. It is not once and done, it is now and always. Every act of awakening, every refusal to descend into bitterness, every choice for love in the face of fear, this is ascension unfolding. You rise when you forgive. You rise when you listen. You rise when you refuse to become the world's pain and instead become its healing. It's not about leaving the world behind. It's about living in it differently, like a lotus, rooted in mud but reaching for sky. Bringing heaven to earth ascension is not escape, it is integration. Those who rise in spirit are not lost to the world. They become woven into it, radiating through the lives they touch. When one soul awakens, the field around them softens. When one person embodies peace, others begin to breathe easier. This is how heaven comes to earth. Not with trumpets, but with presence. Not with thunder, but with stillness. You don't need wings to carry light. You need willingness. To be the one who holds space. To be the one who does not react. To be the one who reminds the world of beauty when it has forgotten itself. In this way, your personal rising becomes a collective lift. The promise of transformation. These stories of rainbows and flames, of stars and vanishing sages, they are not just wonder tales. They are maps. They tell us, you are not bound, you are not small, you are not trapped in this density. There is a way through, there is a path home. There is a doorway in your heart that opens into the eternal. The promise is not that you will float into the sky. The promise is that you will become the sky, spacious, luminous, vast. Not an escape, but a freedom so deep it welcomes everything. Freedom from fear. Freedom from striving. Freedom from forgetting who you are. Your personal apex. The mountaintop is within you. The kingdom is within you. The divine is not far. It is your breath, your gaze, your most unguarded silence. You do not need to leave the body to reach heaven. You need to remember who lives within it. The apex is not up there. It is in here, in the fully embodied, fully awakened, fully surrendered self that stands between two worlds and holds them both in love. This is the final ascent, not into clouds, but into clarity. To walk the earth with the wisdom of the sky, to see God in a stranger's face, to make every moment a sacrament. And when that becomes your life, not just your belief, but your being, you will realize ascension was never about leaving. It was about becoming. And the echo of that awakening will move through eternity, soft as breath, strong as light, forever whispering, you are already home. Conclusion. The sky is not the limit. The stories of those who ascended are not meant to leave us feeling inadequate, but inspired. They are not about escaping the world, but about mastering it. Not about abandoning the body, but transfiguring it. Each avatar, in their unique narrative of transcendence, points to a universal truth, that the human spirit, when fully awakened and aligned with the divine, possesses an astonishing capacity for liberation from all limitations. We may not physically vanish into a rainbow body or be carried away by chariots of fire, but the essence of ascension is available to us all. It is the steady ascent of consciousness, the dissolution of ego, the refinement of our being until we realize our inherent oneness with the boundless, beautiful Godhead. The heavens are not just above, they are within, waiting for us to rise to them. The journey continues, and the sky, as it turns out, is merely the beginning. The echo of oneness, avatars of the Godhead and the unfolding wisdom, dedication to the silent hum beneath all existence, to the spark within every searching heart, and to the countless voices throughout time that dared to whisper the name of the unnameable. Introduction. The ineffable resonance. There is a sound, not of this world, yet echoing through every world. A silence so profound it contains all music. A unity so vast it births infinite diversity. This, my dear reader, is the first whisper of the Godhead. Not a bearded man on a cloud, not a jealous deity, but the primal, self-existent intelligence, the boundless wellspring from which all being flows. For too long we have fractured the divine, confined it to doctrines and temples, battling over the very essence that seeks to unite us. This essay is not another brick in the wall of dogma. Instead, it is an invitation to climb. To ascend not a ladder of rigid belief, but a spiral staircase of understanding, where each turn reveals a broader vista, a deeper resonance with the divine pulse that beats within and beyond us all. We speak of incarnations, of avatars. These are not mere legends, but profound archetypes, living blueprints of wisdom made manifest. They are the moments, the lives, the teachings where the formless Godhead, in its infinite compassion, chose to express itself in the language of humanity, to offer a mirror in which we might recognize our own inherent divinity. Join me, then, on this journey. Let us shed the confines of parochial understanding and embrace the grand symphony of spiritual wisdom that has graced our planet. For in recognizing the diverse faces of the divine, we begin to glimpse the seamless, luminous fabric of the One, the unspoken ground, understanding the Godhead. the 0 point of being, beyond definition, beyond name, exploring the apophatic tradition, what the Godhead is not. It is not a thing, not a person, not bound by time or space. The plenum void, the paradox of ultimate fullness and ultimate emptiness, drawing parallels from quantum physics to ancient mysticism. The breath of creation, how the unmanifest manifests, the initial impulse, the divine play, Layla, the cosmic dance. The inherent goodness, if the Godhead is the source, then the fundamental nature of existence is inherently good, even amidst apparent suffering. Suffering as a distortion, not a core truth. Beyond definition, beyond name. In the beginning there was not light, there was not darkness, there was that which cannot be named, not a thing, not a being, not a mind floating in some cosmic elsewhere, but pure isness, ungraspable, unconditioned, undivided. The mystics call it the apophatic path, the way of unknowing. To say what the Godhead is not, because to say what it is would be to shrink it to thought. It is not male, it is not female, it is not even being, but the ground of all being. You cannot speak it, you cannot seek it, you can only surrender into it and let it speak through you. This is the 0 point of being, the still, radiant center before the first ripple, before the word, before the why. The plenum void. It is empty, yet from it everything is born. It is full, yet it contains no thing. This is the plenum void, what the Buddhists call shunyat-a, what the physicists call the quantum field, a space so empty it is pregnant with infinite potential. A paradox that breaks the mind and opens the soul. The mystics and the scientists meet here, in this luminous darkness, this humming silence, this pregnant pause in which galaxies gather like dew on grass. You are not separate from it. You arise out of it, return into it, and even now you are it in motion. The breath of creation. From silence came sound, from stillness, motion. From the unmanifest, a single pulse. Let there be. This is Layla, the divine play. The dance of the formless into form, not out of need, but out of overflowing. The Godhead did not create from lack, it created from joy, like a child spinning in sunlight, like music pouring from a flute with no mouth. This is the breath of creation, not just long ago, but now. With every breath you take, the universe is speaking you into being. Inhale, the receiving. Exhale, the offering. Each breath, a cosmic rhythm. Each heartbeat, a note in the divine song. You are not apart from this. You are the dance itself, turning back to recognize the dancer. The inherent goodness. If the source is light, then the current is light. If the Godhead is whole, then the pattern beneath all things is not chaos, but goodness. Even in suffering, yes, even there, the light has not vanished. It has only been bent, like sunlight through water. Suffering is a distortion, not the ground truth, a ripple, not the ocean, a forgetting, not a flaw. And when you return to the 0 point, when you rest in the presence of pure being, you will know goodness is not earned. It is the default. It is the foundation. You do not have to deserve the light. You are the light, temporarily clothed in shadow so that love can remember itself through you. So begin here, in the silence, in the stillness, in the nameless, which gave birth to the stars and to the space between them. There is no need to climb. You are already held, already known, already home, echoes in every atom, immanence and transcendence. The ubiquitous spark, the Godhead not just out there, but in here, the concept of the Atman Brahman, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature. The veil of Maya, how our perceptions and ego obscure the immanent divine. The illusion of separation. The transcendent mystery, acknowledging that while immanent, the Godhead always remains beyond full human comprehension, inviting awe and reverence. The cosmic blueprint. How universal laws and spiritual principles emanate from the Godhead, guiding evolution and spiritual development. The ubiquitous spark. You do not have to climb the mountain. You are the mountain remembering its source. The Godhead is not only beyond the stars. It is within every cell of your being. Every breath, every heartbeat, every silence that feels like home. This is the ubiquitous spark, the flame that burns behind the eyes, the thread that connects all things. The mystics of every lineage knew it. Atman is Brahman. The soul in you is the soul of the universe. Christ consciousness is not reserved for one man on a cross. It is the radiance that walks beside you in the grocery line, the humility that kneels in the mud, the love that says this too is sacred. Buddha Natur is not a status, but a remembering, that the mind, when cleared of dust, reflects the sky itself. The divine is not distant, it is imminent, closer than thought, pulsing in every atom. The veil of Maya, and yet, how easily we forget. We see with eyes dimmed by habit. We interpret through ego, through fear, through survival. We are born into Maya, the illusion of separation, the dream of me and other. But the veil is thin. It is made of thought, not stone. When we pause, when we soften, when we begin to see not with the mind but with the heart, we catch glimpses of the real. A child's laughter, a bird's flight, a stranger's kindness. These are tears in the veil, holy interruptions that remind us the world is not two. There is no in here and out there. There is only the one, playing all the roles, whispering, remember, the transcendent mystery. Still, there is a humility we must carry. For though the Godhead is here, it is also beyond, not in location, but in essence it is in your breath. Yes, but it is also the giver of breath. It speaks through your silence, but it also remains unspoken. The divine is both the wave and the ocean, the flame and the fire beyond fire. We can touch the hem, we can feel the warmth, but the full blaze remains forever beyond reach, inviting not mastery, but reverence. This is the paradox of the holy. It is near and it is infinite. It is I am and it is I am not. And in that mystery, we bow not in submission, but in awe. The cosmic blueprint. From this divine union of nearness and vastness, a pattern emerges. Not a rigid code, but a living blueprint. Laws written into the bones of creation, principles woven through soul and stardust. As above, so below. As within, so without. The pull of compassion, the call to serve, the ache for truth, the longing for union. These are not instincts, they are instructions, whispers of the cosmic mind, drawing us forward in our evolution. Every act of growth, every struggle for integrity, every moment of surrender is part of the divine unfolding. The universe is not random, it is becoming conscious of itself through us, and we are not accidents, we are agents. So pause, look not up but in, listen not with ears but with silence. The God you seek is not hiding, it is echoing in every leaf, in every scar, in every atom of your being. And once you know this, you do not need to chase the stars. You only need to remember that you are already made of them. Why avatars? The compassionate descent. The bridge builders, the purpose of incarnations, to make the abstract tangible, the infinite relatable. Divine intervention or divine invitation? Are avatars interventions or manifestations arising naturally from humanity's need and readiness? The archetypal human, how avatars represent the perfected human potential, showing us what we can become. The Godhead's language. Each avatar speaks the language of their time and culture, yet conveys universal truths. The bridge builders. Sometimes the infinite steps into form, not to impress but to embrace, not to reign from a throne but to walk among dust and blood and birth. The purpose of the avatar is not to dazzle with miracles or mystify with mystery, but to become a bridge between heaven and earth, between the abstract and the intimate, between the God we cannot imagine and the hand we can hold. The avatar is the word made flesh, not to escape the human, but to reveal its capacity for divinity. Christ washing feet, Krishna playing a flute, Buddha walking barefoot on the earth. Each one a divine whisper given form so that we may finally listen. Divine intervention or divine invitation. Do avatars descend as interventions, heaven's response to humanity's chaos? Or do they arise naturally, birthed from the ache of a world ready to remember? Perhaps both are true. Perhaps when the hunger is great enough, truth incarnates. Perhaps the divine does not force itself upon us, but waits, patiently, lovingly, until a culture, a people, a moment is ripe to receive what has always been present. The avatar is not an interruption of natural law. It is its fulfillment, the blossom of cosmic love in time-bound soil. And so the avatar is not a break in the story. It is the turning of the page, not a rescue, an invitation, the archetypal human. The avatar does not arrive to say, worship me. They say, become as I am. They do not raise themselves above us, but reveal the height to which the human can rise. Each avatar is an archetype of perfected humanity, not superhuman, but fully human, awakened, integrated, radiant. They weep, they laugh, they bleed, they teach, but in them nothing is separate from the source. They are not exceptions. They are blueprints. They remind us that within us is the same spark, the same light, the same seed of awakening. They came not to make us small before the divine, but to reveal how vast we already are. The Godhead's language. The infinite does not speak in one tongue. It translates itself into time and culture, into parable and poetry, into symbols the heart can digest. This is why Krishna danced, why Jesus told stories, why the Buddha sat beneath a tree in silence. Each avatar speaks the language of their people, yet what they carry is universal, truth that transcends text, love that outlives doctrine, wisdom that wears many garments but reveals the same light. No single revelation contains the whole, but each avatar is a facet of the divine prism, refracting the same light into the colors each age needs most. The Godhead bends low not because it must, but because it loves, and in love it becomes what we can understand. So why avatars? Because love does not shout from a distance. It steps into the room, it takes on form, it becomes the story. It becomes us, so that we might remember we were never separate from it. The living lamps. Avatars of spiritual wisdom, the awakened one, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, story Prince to Wanderer, the Great Renunciation, enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Core wisdom, the Four Noble Truths, Dukkha, Samadaya, Nirodha, Magga, the Eightfold Path, Anatta, non-self, impermanence, anicca, interdependence. The lamp for us today, cultivating mindfulness in a distracted world, facing suffering with wisdom, compassion as action, the path of self-liberation. Be a lamp unto yourself. Story, he was born into silk but heard the cry of the world through the walls. Siddhartha Gautama, the prince sheltered in opulence, was shown only perfection. Yet the truth whispered through a dying leaf, a wrinkled hand, a funeral procession. He saw what comfort could not conceal, that no robe can shield the soul from suffering. And so he left. A great renunciation, not of love but of illusion, not of life but of attachment to what cannot last. He wandered. He searched, he broke his body for answers. And finally, beneath the Bodhi tree, he stilled the world by stilling himself. And when the morning star rose, he awoke, not to a new religion, but to reality as it is. The man became the Buddha, the awakened one, not a god, but a mirror. Core wisdom, his awakening was not a spectacle, but a teaching, a map. The Four Noble Truths. 1. Dukkha, life contains suffering. 2. Samudaya, suffering arises from craving. 3. Nirodha, there is a cessation to suffering. 4. Magga, the path out is the Eightfold Path. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This was no salvation narrative. It was an invitation to wake up. He taught Anatta that the self is a story, a bundle of conditions, a wave mistaking itself for the sea. He taught Anicca that all things arise and pass away, even joy, even pain, even you. And he taught interdependence, that nothing exists on its own, that life is a web, and compassion is how we honor the threads. The lamp for us today. In a world that spins faster each day, his silence still speaks. When distraction is the default, mindfulness is a revolution. When anxiety floods the senses, a single breath becomes a sanctuary. His teachings are not ancient relics. They are lamps in the storm. To face your suffering, not by fleeing it, but by seeing it, is to take the first step. To live with compassion, not as sentiment but as action, is to walk the middle path. He did not promise escape. He promised clarity. He did not offer belief. He offered practice. And when asked who would guide us when he was gone, he said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." The light is not out there. It is already in you. It only waits for you to sit still long enough to remember it. The Buddha did not awaken for himself. He awakened for all beings. And every step we take in awareness, every act of gentle courage, every moment of presence, we carry that light forward. Not as worshipers, but as walkers of the path. The Son of God, Yeshua of Nazareth, Jesus Christ. Story, humble birth, ministry of love and healing, crucifixion, resurrection. Core wisdom, love, agape as the highest law, forgiveness, turning the other cheek, the kingdom of heaven within, sacrifice and redemption, the parables as spiritual allegories. The lamp for us today. Unconditional love in a divisive world, the power of forgiveness, radical compassion for self and others, the transformative power of belief. Story. He was born not in a palace, but in a stable, wrapped not in gold, but in swaddling cloth, announced not to kings, but to shepherds watching sheep beneath stars. Yeshua of Nazareth, carpenter's son, wandering teacher, friend of the broken, walked dusty roads with sandals and silence, and healed not just bodies, but hearts hardened by despair. His was a ministry of love, of touch without judgment, of words that pierced and comforted at once, of eyes that saw the soul beneath the skin. He spoke to the outcast. He wept with the mourning. He overturned tables in the temple, and then sat with sinners at the table. Then came the cross, not as failure, but as fulfillment. He was broken by the world to reveal that love cannot be broken. And after 3 days, he rose, not to punish, but to offer peace. His death was not the end. It was a doorway. And resurrection was not just his, but a promise whispered into every human soul. Core wisdom, he gave no doctrine. He offered life, abundant, interior, eternal. At the center of his teaching was agape, love that gives without asking, serves without seeking, dies without fear. He taught forgiveness not just as virtue, but as liberation of the soul. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. He invited us to turn the other cheek, not in weakness, but as a rebellion against violence and vengeance. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you," not in a future sky, but in the present, patient heart. And through his parables, he told stories that still unfold in us. The prodigal welcomed home, the mustard seed of faith, the lost coin found in joy. Each one a spiritual allegory of a God who does not count sins, but who never stops searching. His life was not a sermon, it was sacrifice and redemption made flesh. The lamp for us today. In a world divided by fear and ideology, his light still breaks through the fog. He calls us to unconditional love, not just for those who agree with us, but for enemies, for strangers, for ourselves, even when we feel unworthy. He teaches us the power of forgiveness, not just for others, but for the parts of ourselves still nailed to our own crosses. His life speaks of radical compassion, not as softness, but as strength that kneels. He reminds us that belief is not passive, it is transformative. To believe in him is not to escape suffering, but to walk through it with light in your eyes and love on your lips. To carry the cross is not to be crushed, it is to be carved into something eternal. The Son of God did not come to create a religion, he came to restore relationship between us and the source, between us and one another, between us and ourselves. He did not say, "Admire me," he said, "Follow me." And every time we love in the face of fear, every time we forgive what seems unforgivable, every time we look into the eyes of another and see the divine, we are walking the same dusty road. And the kingdom, once thought far away, is suddenly within. The perfect man, Prophet Muhammad. Story, orphaned prophet, receiver of revelations, unifier of tribes, founder of Islam. Core wisdom, Tawheed, oneness of God, submission, Islam to divine will, social justice, compassion for the poor and vulnerable, the Quran as divine word, the importance of community, Ummah. The lamp for us today, devotion and surrender, ethical conduct in all dealings, the pursuit of justice, the strength of community, balancing spiritual life with worldly responsibility. Story. He was born in the desert, an orphan carried by mercy. Muhammad ibn Abdullah, a man of trade, a man of silence, a man whose honesty earned him the name Al-Amin, the trustworthy. He sought not status, not throne, not wealth, only the truth that burns behind the veil of the world. At 40, in a cave named Hira, the silence broke. A voice, vast and eternal, spoke. Recite. And with trembling heart he recited, not from books, not from opinion, but from the depthless well of revelation. He became the seal of the prophets, not to eclipse those before him, but to complete the circle. He brought together fractured tribes, lifted the orphan and the widow, balanced sword with mercy, and founded not an empire, but a way, Islam, a path of surrender to the divine. And when his mission was fulfilled, he did not ascend in flame, he returned to the earth that cradled him, his head resting on the lap of love. Core wisdom, his message was not new, but a return, a call back to Tawheed, the absolute oneness of God. No idols, no intermediaries, no confusion. One light, one source, one reality, and if there is one God, then all are kin. He taught Islam not as a label, but as a state of being, a surrender to divine will so deep that the ego bows and peace begins. He stood for social justice long before the world gave it a name, freeing slaves, feeding the hungry, lifting the voice of women, protecting the dignity of the poor. His compassion was not sentimental. It was structured, embodied in law and practice, woven into the rhythm of life. The Quran was not his words, it was the word through him, a living voice recited with breath and reverence, full of fire and mercy. And he gave the world not just revelation, but ummah, a spiritual community knit together not by blood, but by shared purpose. The lamp for us today. In an age of fractured souls and hollow noise, his light still burns, steady, clear, uncompromising. He teaches devotion not as escape, but as discipline in the world. Prayer 5 times daily, an anchor pulling the soul back to the center. He reminds us that surrender is not weakness, but trust in something greater than control. His life is a model of ethical conduct, in trade, in family, in justice, in peace, and in war. Every action, a prayer, every word weighed with purpose. He calls us to stand for justice, even against our own interest, and to protect the vulnerable, not for reward, but for the face of God. He shows us that spiritual life is not separate from worldly duty. It is found in the marketplace, in the home, in the daily dealings with neighbor and stranger. And he reminds us, you are not alone. You are part of a living body, the Ummah, a community bound not by creed alone, but by compassion, prayer, and mutual uplift. The prophet did not claim perfection for himself, but through his humility, his justice, his mercy, he embodied the human perfected through divine alignment. And in a world that still walks in shadow, his path remains a lamp, not just for Muslims, but for any soul who seeks to live with purpose, with integrity, and with peace. The Preserver, Krishna Hinduism. Story: divine coward, strategist in the Mahabharata, revealer of the Bhagavad Gita. Core wisdom: Dharma, righteous conduct; Karma Yoga, action without attachment to results; Bhakti Yoga, devotion; Jnana Yoga, wisdom, the nature of the self, Atman and Brahman. The lamp for us today: finding purpose in action, performing duty without ego; the power of devotion, integrating spirituality into daily life, understanding the cosmic dance. Story: he was born beneath a tyrant's shadow, yet smiled as the stars bowed down. Placed in a basket, carried across the river, the divine slipping quietly into the human story. Krishna, God as coward, as flute player, as friend, as cosmic guide. He danced with gopis by moonlight, not in romance, but in revelation. For each soul he touched, he became their Krishna, intimate, infinite, utterly present. Later, he stood at the center of a kingdom unraveling, not as a king, but as strategist, witness, and teacher, guiding Arjuna, not just to win a war, but to win himself. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as arrows filled the sky, he gave the world the Bhagavad Gita, a discourse on the soul, duty, devotion, and liberation. This was not myth, it was revelation in motion, the Lord in form, guiding us through the formless. Core wisdom: Krishna's teachings are not bound to time, they are eternal fire woven into human words. He spoke of Dharma, righteous conduct, the path that is yours and yours alone. To walk it is peace, to abandon it is suffering. He taught Karma Yoga, the way of action without attachment, offering your deeds like incense on the altar of the infinite. He revealed Bhakti Yoga, the sweet surrender of the heart, where longing becomes union and love itself becomes liberation. He taught Jnana Yoga, the razor path of wisdom, piercing illusion, revealing that the Atman, the inner self, is none other than Brahman, the supreme reality. The soul cannot be burned, broken, or bound. It is unborn, unending, unshaken. This is Krishna's promise, that the truth is within you and he as guide is always near. The lamp for us today. In a world of endless striving, Krishna whispers, do your duty, release the outcome. We seek purpose. He teaches Dharma. We chase results. He teaches freedom in action. We burn out. He teaches devotion as fuel. His path is not escape, it is integration. A life lived with presence and offering, where work becomes worship and the ordinary becomes sacred. He reminds us that the ego is not the doer. The self that clings, fears, and controls is not the true self. To act without ego is not to act without care, but to act with clarity, surrender, and strength. And through it all, he plays his flute, not with words, but with invitation, to enter the cosmic dance where every soul has a rhythm and every step brings us closer to the whole. Krishna is not only the preserver of worlds, he is the preserver of meaning in the midst of chaos, the inner smile in the storm, the divine thread running through the fabric of every life. When you listen closely, he is still speaking, still guiding, still dancing, and always reminding us, you are not alone. You are eternal. Act in love, and the path will light itself beneath your feet. The enlightened teacher, Lao Tzu, Taoism. Story: semi-legendary founder, author of the Tao Te Ching, The Journey to the West. Core wisdom: the Tao, the way, Wu Wei, effortless action, non-action, the power of yielding, balancing yin and yang, simplicity, naturalness. The lamp for us today: finding flow in a chaotic world, the wisdom of humility, letting go of control, aligning with natural rhythms, the strength found in softness. Story: they say he came from nowhere and returned to the same. Lao Tzu, old master, keeper of silence, writer of paradox. Some say he was a court archivist, others a spirit in human form. A man weary of the noise of empires, who left behind no temple, no tomb, only a small book that reads like water whispering to stone. As he left the known world riding an ox into the vastness of the West, a gatekeeper stopped him and asked for a teaching. And so he wrote. Just over 5,000 characters, no sermons, no commandments. Only the Tao Te Ching, the classic of the way and its virtue. Then he passed beyond the gate, disappearing into legend as quietly as he came, core wisdom. The heart of his teaching was not a doctrine, but a way, the Tao. Unnameable, unformed, unforced. The Tao is not a god, but the rhythm of the universe, the invisible current that moves the 10,000 things. To live well is not to conquer it, but to align with it. This alignment is called Wu Wei, not doing nothing, but doing nothing unnecessary. Effortless action. Action in tune with the moment, like the archer who draws without tension, like the tree that bends but does not break. He taught the power of yielding. The river overcomes the rock, not by force, but by faithful flow. He spoke of yin and yang, opposite energies not at war, but in divine balance. He praised simplicity, naturalness, the virtue of emptiness. In the eyes of Lao Tzu, softness is strength, stillness is movement, and wisdom is knowing when to let go. The lamp for us today, in a world that rewards noise, he reminds us of the power of silence. In a culture that prizes control, he offers the wisdom of surrender. In the midst of burnout, speed, and striving, Lao Tzu invites us to flow, not to give up, but to trust the unfolding. He reminds us that humility is not weakness, but alignment with something greater than the self. He calls us to live not by formulas, but by feel, to walk barefoot through life, attuned to the moment, rooted in enough. He teaches us that letting go is not loss, but freedom, that when we stop forcing, life begins to move through us. The Tao does not need your domination, it waits for your listening. Lao Tzu never claimed enlightenment. He simply became transparent, a clear window through which the Tao could shine, and in that clarity he became a lamp, not bright with fire but glowing with peace, a light not to follow but to feel. So slow down, breathe, let the ox lead, and you may find, as he did, that the way is not something you find, it is something you remember. It is always here, soft as water, strong as eternity. The Righteous Reformer, Guru Nanak. Story, visionary founder as rejection of caste and ritual, emphasis on equality and devotion to one God. Core wisdom, Aikankar, one God, universal equality, selfless service, seva, honest labor, remembrance of God's name, Nam Simran, the path of the householder. The lamp for us today, breaking down societal barriers, living a spiritual life in the world, the dignity of labor, the power of communal prayer, the courage to stand for truth. Story, he was born into dust and division, but his words carried the weight of stars. Guru Nanak, the first of the Sikh gurus, was not born to overthrow thrones, but to dissolve the walls that separate soul from soul. One morning, he stepped into the river and vanished. 3 days passed. When he emerged, he said only, "There is no Hindu, there is no Muslim." He had seen beyond names, beyond dogmas and doctrines, into the radiant unity of all things. He walked from village to village, not to preach, but to remind that God is one and that all who breathe are equal before that one. He rejected caste, rejected ritualism, but never rejected reverence. His life was not withdrawn in seclusion, but lived in the world, planting seeds of truth in soil long parched by division. And what bloomed was Sikhism, a path rooted in equality, devotion, and courage. Core wisdom. At the center of his teaching, Aikankar, there is only one God, not many truths, not many lords, just one presence, radiant and indivisible, coursing through every atom, heard in every name. He taught that this God is not confined to temples or texts, but lives in labor, in love, in song, in silence, in bread shared with the hungry. Universal equality, no one above, no one below. Kings and beggars, scholars and farmers, all are threads in the same divine cloth. He called for seva, selfless service, not for status, but for soul. To serve is to worship. To give is to remember. He praised honest labor. That work done with integrity is more sacred than gold-plated prayers. And he offered the key to spiritual living, Nam Simran, the remembrance of the divine name, not just in word, but in every act, every breath, every heartbeat. The highest path, he said, is not escape. It is the path of the householder, to raise children, earn bread, love your neighbor, and do it all with God on your tongue and compassion in your hands. The lamp for us today, in an age of separation and ego-built towers, Guru Nanak's voice rises like morning light. Break down the barriers, stand up for truth, walk humbly with the One. He reminds us that spirituality is not apart from society. It must shine within it. He teaches that communal prayer, sung with joy, fed by music, grounded in gratitude, can heal more than silence ever could. He calls us to dignify labor, to uplift the overlooked, to see the holy in the hands that build, cook, and clean. And he shows us that the truest courage is not shouting from the mountaintop, but standing firm in truth, even when the world turns away. In a time that glorifies the self, he glorifies the sacred in all. In a world of noise, he invites us to remember the name that holds all things together. Guru Nanak did not come to divide. He came to blend, to offer a cup of truth that all could drink from, regardless of their name or birth or path. He left behind no empire, but a living legacy. Serve, remember, love without condition, and know God is one, and so are we. The mystic and the mother, beyond single incarnations. The feminine divine, exploring avatars and manifestations of the divine mother, e.g. Durga, Kali, Sophia, Shekinah, and the importance of feminine principle in balance. The living avatar, the concept of living masters and enlightened beings in contemporary times, e.g. Ramana Maharshi, Amma, the Dalai Lama, how the lamp continues to shine. The avatar within, the ultimate realization that we are all potential avatars, reflections of the Godhead, waiting to be fully expressed. The feminine divine. The mystery of God does not wear only the face of the Father. It flows also in the mother's breath, in the womb of silence, in the fierce and gentle love that creates and destroys, nurtures and liberates. To speak of avatars and forget the divine feminine is to see only half the sky. She comes not as one, but as many. Durga, riding the lion, sword drawn to defend the innocent. Kali, draped in time, severing illusion with every step. Sophia, the divine wisdom, dancing before the foundation of the world. Shekinah, the indwelling presence, the glowing ember of divinity resting within every sacred space. She is the formless source made form, not only to comfort but to awaken. She is not gentler than the masculine. She is wilder, deeper, more whole. She flows through every mother who loves, every woman who leads with soul, every man who lets softness be his strength. In honoring her, we restore balance. In listening to her, we remember how to feel the divine, not just name it. The living avatar. The light did not go out after the prophets passed. It still burns, quietly, clearly, in the hearts of those who have realized the real. The lamp continues to shine. In Ramana Maharshi, whose silence taught louder than words, who pointed always inward, who am I? In Amma, whose hugs become sacraments, whose compassion spills across continents. In the Dalai Lama, smiling through exile, teaching that kindness is universal religion. These are not relics. They are reminders that God is not done speaking, that divinity continues to walk barefoot among us, not to be worshipped, but to be witnessed, to remind us of what is possible. The teacher is not the endpoint, the teacher is the mirror, and every living avatar reflects the invitation still echoing from the beginning. Become what you are, the avatar within. And now we come to it. All these lights, Krishna, Christ, the Buddha, Muhammad, the mothers, are not just shining at us, they are shining through us. The ultimate realization is not that God came once, but that God comes as you, if you are willing to be transparent to the light. You were never meant to be merely a follower. You are a flame, a walking piece of the Godhead, shaped by time, but rooted in the eternal. You are the Christ reaching toward the hurting. You are the Tara comforting the frightened. You are the spark of Zarathustra's fire, the eye of the Buddha, the hand of Nanak serving bread. This is not arrogance, it is remembrance. To walk in humility, to serve with love, to see no separation between self and soul, this is living as an avatar. Not above others, but awakened to the truth that lives in all things. You are not waiting for the next incarnation. You are the now incarnation. The path continues through your feet. The lamp has been placed in your hands. Light it. Igniting your own lamp, the practical wisdom, the inner laboratory, experiencing the Godhead. Meditation and contemplation, practical techniques for stilling the mind and connecting with the divine within. Prayer as dialogue, not demand, shifting the relationship with the divine. Mindful action, how every act can become an offering, a conscious expression of the Godhead. Cultivating silence, the path to hearing the unspoken truth. Meditation and contemplation. The temples of old were carved from stone, but the temple of the now is carved in stillness. To meet the Godhead is not to climb a ladder to heaven, but to descend into the sacred silence within, into the inner laboratory, where the experiment is stillness, and the discovery is presence. Meditation is not escape. It is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of awareness, watching the breath as if it were prayer, watching the thoughts as if they were clouds passing through the sky of eternity. Contemplation is not study. It is resting in mystery, letting a single word, a sacred image, a question with no answer become the doorway into union. In silence, the mind settles. In stillness, the veil thins, and we remember the Godhead is not distant. It is here, now, always. Prayer is dialogue, not demand. Prayer was never meant to be a shopping list. It is not a broadcast sent into the void, but a conversation with the sacred. To pray is to listen as much as to speak. It is to lay the heart bare without agenda, to say, "Here I am," and to wait for the echo of, "And here I have always been." True prayer is relational. It shifts us from petition to participation, from begging the divine to act to allowing the divine to act through us. It is whispering thanks in the midst of chaos. It is weeping without words and knowing God weeps with you. It is lighting a candle and remembering you are the flame. Mindful action, every step, every breath, every dish you wash, every word you speak, an altar, a ritual, a revelation. When the veil between sacred and mundane dissolves, everything becomes holy. Mindful action is the art of living as liturgy. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. To act with intention, to speak with kindness, to serve without seeking reward, these are the new sacrifices on the altar of the everyday. When the soul awakens, the Godhead is found in the most unexpected places, in the folding of laundry, in the holding of a hand, in the rhythm of your walk to work. The secret is not to do more, but to be more present. Cultivating silence. The world is loud, and the soul is soft. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the space in which truth is heard. To cultivate silence is to clear the static, to allow the deeper current of being to rise to the surface. In silence, the ego dissolves. In silence, the sacred speaks. The mystics have always known, the divine does not shout, it whispers. And we hear it only when we stop trying to be the source of the noise. Turn inward, sit long enough, and you will find that the wordless voice of the Godhead has always been calling you by name. You do not need to leave the world to find the divine. You need only to become aware of the presence that saturates all things, especially you. The inner laboratory is not hidden. It is not locked. It is simply waiting for your attention, your surrender, your stillness. And in that stillness, you will not find God as something separate. You will find God as your own breath, your own being, your own quiet unfolding. The ethical crucible, behavior as devotion, compassion in action, translating love into tangible truthfulness and integrity, building a life of honesty, generosity and selflessness, the paradox of giving to receive, patience and perseverance, the long game of spiritual growth. If you behave well, you will feel well. The optimal behaviorist's creed, validated by the lives of the avatars and the laws of spiritual cause and effect. Compassion in action. Love that stays in the heart is like rain that never touches the earth. Compassion was never meant to be a concept. It was always meant to have hands. In every tradition, from the Christ washing feet to the Buddha tending the sick, from Guru Nanak feeding the hungry to Amma embracing the world, love becomes real through action. Compassion is not a feeling. It is a decision to move towards suffering with presence, without judgment, to forgive when you are right, to listen when it's inconvenient, to serve when no one is watching. This is the crucible, where spiritual truth is melted down into daily deeds. Truthfulness and integrity. The soul is allergic to lies. Even small ones shrink us from within. To live in truth is not merely to avoid deceit. It is to become transparent to the divine light, so that what you are inside, you are outside. Integrity is not perfection. It is wholeness. It is saying yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no. It is honoring your word like it's a sacred thread holding the world together. When Jesus said, "Let your yes be yes," and when the Prophet Muhammad was called the trustworthy, and when the Upanishads said Satyam is the highest dharma, they were all pointing to this. That truth lived is a kind of prayer. And God listens with joy when we speak and act from a place of unity. Generosity and selflessness. Here is the paradox only the soul understands. The more you give, the more you become. To give with no need for return is to enter the flow of the cosmos itself. The divine does not hoard, it overflows. Seva. Charity. Zakat. Dana. Every path reminds us, what you possess possesses you unless you give it away with love. Selflessness is not about erasing the self. It is about remembering that the self is not separate. So you share your time, your voice, your presence. You give not because others are less, but because you are one. Patience and perseverance. You cannot rush the blooming of a flower, nor the awakening of a soul. Spiritual growth is a slow alchemy. It happens in the dark, in the waiting, in the repetition of small choices that shape your becoming. The avatars did not ascend in a day. They walked, fell, prayed, wept, served, and still kept walking. Patience is the quiet confidence of the faithful.